Okay, let's try that again. Oh, the green screen is acting up. There we go. Let's adjust that a little, and the sun is shining in. So I think that's kind of probably what's causing that problem in that upper corner of the screen. So please don't look there. I had somebody supposed to interview for the show. They were a no-show. So I went out to grab something for lunch. While out, I had on what was the Charlie Kirk show, is still, but then a dynamic, less than dynamic duo currently doing the show. We're talking about DeSantis now talking about either reducing or eliminating property taxes. And one of the things one of them said as pushback, they don't want to eliminate property taxes. Oh, well, why? Because you don't pay them? You don't care? Well, let me get into it, right? I made some notes, but he was saying, seniors are among the wealthiest of them. Oh, okay, so okay, AOC, tax the rich, huh? And they're not wealthy. They may own a house that on paper is worth $250,000, but that doesn't make them wealthy. It's only worth that if they sell it. And if they sell it, they got to live somewhere. Everything else costs as much. Unless if you find some, but again, I have a friend, Fred, used to work with him in IT. He lost his job, but his wife also worked in IT and could work from home. So they sold their couple $100,000 home here in Michigan and went and bought, where cost of living is a lot less, a home outside of Atlanta for half that, pocketed that difference and lived off her salary down there. They're doing well because the cost of living is far less. So, yes, there's a lot of things that factor, but are they wealthy? Were they wealthy selling a $200,000 home? No. Wealth on paper doesn't mean you've got money. At any rate, property tax, because I have done a show. I think it was Darlene Hennessy I had on, talking about the move to eliminate property taxes in Michigan. So I want to address Mr. AOC. Tax the seniors because they got money. He's young. He doesn't have anything of real value yet. To hell with them. It's all about him and only him. Let's deal with that. How eliminating property taxes helps everybody, not just one sector or the other. Even if you don't own a property, it helps you. But the Charlie Kirk wannabe that is nowhere close to being Charlie Kirk doesn't think. He's a snowflake. His feelings and all about him. What about him? Oh, what about him? All right, let's deal in the whole thing as best we can. Your mileage may vary, your region may vary, right? It all varies a little. But first, property tax itself. As someone on disability, and yes, in a home that has no mortgage on it, I'm still extorted taxes at the value they claim it's worth. Not what the house was built for, not what it was worth before, not what it was worth when I obtained it, but whatever they say, the inflating, and you could check before it's news.com. I've got a piece on housing prices and how to fix the issue of affordability so people can actually afford to buy a house. Like this young person who, if I were there, I'd ask, do you own a home or do you rent, or you just live in mom and dad's basement? You don't care that mom and dad are being extorted property taxes because you're living for free? But anyway, all right, that aside, everyone's specifics are different. But my property taxes keep going up and up and up and up and up. I can't afford them on my disability budget. I'm extorted money for property I supposedly own, but I have to pay rent to the state for the courtesy of living on the property and under the roof that has been paid for already? Okay, so that's my situation. Unlike him filling in on the Kirk show, it's not all about me. It's not all right. What about my neighbor who's working, younger, still working, right? Recently bought the house next door at a inflated value, has to pay property taxes while still paying a mortgage and paying insurance on top of that and all that, right? Helping her by reducing, if not eliminating, the property tax is a benefit to all of us also. Our entire community gives her more money to spend where she deems her dollars that she earned should be going, not where the state decides to steal it and redistribute it to. Okay? If I was there, I would ask this young kid, all right, you don't own a home? Well, are you renting? Question, do renters pay property tax? The answer is yes. Duh. The person who owns the property from which you are renting is extorted property taxes from, and that is passed on to you, the renter. So whether you see it broke down in your monthly rent or not, you're paying the property tax. Okay, let's say you're young and you're living in mom and dad's basement. You don't care at all then about your parents being extorted money on property they may already own, fully paid off for, or struggling to pay the mortgage on, because the property taxes, their mortgage may have been fixed, but their property tax keeps going up. And guess what? If you have a mortgage in most states, the bank must escrow the estimated taxes in their bank payment. So their payment may go from $2,500 a month to $2,700 a month to continually cover the growing up more theft in taxation on the property they own. That's only worth the, for sake of argument, $250,000 if they find someone who will buy it for $250,000. And then what? All the other homes in the area are probably $250,000, unless it's like Fred, they move to Atlanta suburbs and buy a home for half the value to have some extra flexible actual cash in their pocket. They're spending $250,000 on another home. It's a wash. There's no gain there. But yet this young, dumb person who has probably never had an economics class, and of course, since they don't teach civics and history in school either, doesn't know any of that, any of this, doesn't understand any of this. So you eliminate the property taxes, you help a whole lot of people, not just seniors. But you're okay with seniors being kicked out of their homes because they can't pay the extortion to the state, even though they own their home. So their home is seized and them kicked out on the street. And this guy apparently has zero issue with that. This isn't about our feelings, and it isn't about us and us alone. Okay, I covered rent. I covered seniors and the other, right, schools, right? Oh, I'm going to grab pardon me, I had to pull a Marco Rubio there. Schools. We fund schools in part by property taxes. What are the schools going to do? What are the poor little children going to do? Oh my God, you can't take away the funding for the schools. You fund them another way. Lottery. That's a voluntary tax. Trillions upon trillions upon trillions of dollars every year taken in by lotteries all across this nation, and trillions upon trillions upon trillions of dollars then funneled into the school, trillions more than we used to spend. And education is so great, it's so much better because we're spending so much more money, right? Wrong. Money isn't the problem or the issue there. We spend more, the education gets worse and worse. So your money argument about funding the schools is bogus. That is another show to talk about proper funding and what should realistically be the funding of schools. And yes, at thelibertybeacon.com, I have school reforms. School reforms needed now, as well as election reforms needed now. Piece at thelibertybeacon.com. Go there for that, right? I don't want to get too deep in it. But the point being, there are other mechanisms other than just property tax that money can be gleaned to fund the schools. I don't want to go on and on forever in this. Fire and police. All right, okay. What if you own a home? If someone trespasses and steals something, you want cops to show up, take a report, and detectives to track them down and get back your stuff. Yes. If there's a fire, you want a fire department to be able to show up and put out the fire. Yes. That's communism. Okay. We all accept that degree of community policing and community fire protections. We understand that. So you can reduce property taxes by a whole lot and still cover that. All right. Here's a thought. If we're going to agree government can and could and should do some things like police and fire, we can't all afford and all shouldn't be left to fend for hiring our own private security and hiring our own fire force, right? We agree as Judeo-Christian founded nation, that level of community function is indeed shared by all and paid for by all because it benefits all. But here's a thought. How about instead of taxing people's supposed value of their home, what is the cost of the police force? What is the cost of the fire departments? Take that money divided by the number of homeowners or property owners, commercial to whatever, and send them a bill for whatever their portion, their share, their real cost of that is. Right? Okay. And if you want to cling to your, oh no, we got to soak the rich. All right. If someone who has a half acre Still needs the police and fire as much as someone who has 5 acres. But if you want to do it, all right, divide it on a per acre cost. You have a half acre, this is how much you pay. You've got 5 acres, it's this much an acre times 5. You pay that to cover the cost, not based on arbitrary value, which fluctuates up and down and all around, may or may not have anything real to do with the actual value of the house. And it's only worth that if you sell it. If you buy a house and you plan on living there your entire life, that arbitrary value going up, unless if you're going to borrow against that equity, means zero to you. Zero. Absolutely zero. It's a negative to you. The value of this house keeps going up. I'm not selling it because I couldn't afford another place. The value keeps going up. The property tax keeps going up. Why? If I'm supposed to pay for fire and police, then send me a bill for exactly my proper share of it. Not arbitrary tax on an arbitrary number that is meaningless, really, to the value of this property, because it's only worth that if someone's willing to pay that. And it's only does anything for a buyer or a seller if the property's actually bought and sold and bought. All right. Lastly, I wanted to touch on sales tax. And all of this is to show the Charlie Kirk wannabe way falls short, non-thinker, emotional snowflake, right? I'm talking general numbers here. I threw out some, for instance, numbers. Again, the numbers are going to vary everywhere, but sales tax. Also, a lot of places, some of the sales tax goes to the schools. Well, sales tax, I'm as anti-tax as they come. Sales tax is the most reasonable tax there is, and here's why. You have options. You have choices. Your wages aren't being confiscated. You get to keep that. Your home, your property isn't being charged rent for something you already own. But a sales tax is a transactional tax that happens everywhere on a daily basis. Let's talk about a car, right? Go out and get a $50,000 car. If the sales tax is 10%, that's another $5,000. And if I can't afford the loan for $55,000 to cover that, well, then guess what? Instead, I can choose a $40,000 car and the $4,000 tax. $44,000 financed is far less than $55,000 financed, right? You buy a TV. Oh, hey, you've got to have that big new 80-inch TV. Well, guess what? It costs more. Maybe with the tax, you can't afford that, but then you could buy a 50-inch and afford the tax, right? That you have give and take on. So a sales tax, if we are to transfer some of what is collected in property tax to sales tax, makes more sense. Again, I'm as anti-tax as they come. The problem is not taxation, it's spending. Cut the spending. Get government out of things they're not supposed to be meddling in. Cut the spending. Cut the taxes. Let people keep their own money. Like, for example, I'm on disability, so I can't afford a $4,000 car, let alone a $40,000 car, because, of course, then there's the registration fees and the driver's license fee. And, of course, all the state regulations that insist that the insurance company has to charge me for these things, whether I need them or not. And, of course, the law states I must have insurance to have the car on the road. So my car I own still costs me monthly for the privilege of being able to put it on the road. But again, when I was working, I had a great salary. At the time, also, when I was married, my wife had a great salary. We had nice things. I like nice things. I'd love to be able to have a bunch of nice things. I can't afford them, right? We bought a Chevy Avalanche way back when, a $40,000 truck then. They don't make the Avalanche anymore. The Escalade, I think, is a sixth. The Cadillac version is over six figures now. A $40,000 truck, but I had a good job. She had a good job. We could afford that and afford the sales tax on top of that. If we couldn't, then we could have bought a Chevy. We had one of those S10 instead, although I don't think they make those anymore either. But you have options with sales tax. You can adjust what you buy to take into account and factor in sales tax. Now, these are my notes. You can see prop for property, rent, seniors, schools, fire, police, sales tax. I've touched on each of them, but while I was in the car driving home getting ready to record this and making these notes, more things went through my head. But the point being, this isn't just an issue for seniors. And it doesn't destroy completely school funding. So spare me that. And again, that's a whole other issue. Continually throwing money at the schools and getting less value out of the schools is not the answer for that either. We must have serious, thoughtful thinking, logic, reason, common sense involved conversations, not like that guy. Oh my God, my feelings. What about me? Me. All that matters is my situation, right? And again, yes, housing bubble probably going to burst again. We're going to see 2008 all over again. You have a house supposedly valued at $200,000. You've got a $150,000 mortgage you're paying on it. And guess what? The bottom falls out and it goes down to a value of 100,000. You're in the hole. A lot of those people are going to do what? Like in 2008, walk away because they're underwater in their mortgage. They just walk away. Even though they signed the bottom line and agreed to make those payments, they're just going to walk away and those homes will be foreclosed upon. I forgot where I was going with that, but again, yeah, these are housing. B4HNews.com, tinyurl.com/JLD, short for J. Leonard Detroit, articles. tinyurl.com/JLD articles. And give me a second. I'm going to toggle over to my Before It's News page. And that article in the blogging/citizen journalism category of Before It's News is called Real Solutions to Problems Rather Than More Government Dictates, Subsidy Handouts, etc. for a Change. Housing Crisis Addressed. So please look at that too. I don't go into the property tax thing, but please look back in the CTP archives for the show. I do talk with, I think it's Darlene, about the movement to eliminate property taxes here in Michigan, as is happening in a whole lot of other states. And all I've laid out to you must be factored in. Taxation can be moved about and shifted about, but how about we stop spending government monies on things the government constitutionally is excluded from doing in the first place? Then all these taxes can come down. Thank you all. Take care. God bless. Love you all.
Like and subscribe to Constitutionalist Politics Podcast and share episodes. We need your help.
Thank you for having tuned into another Constitutionalist Podcast show. I really appreciate that you stopped by. Again, please like, share, subscribe. We need you to help spread the Constitutionalist movement. Thank you again. Take care. God bless. Love you all.